if we survived the apocalypse? So what if we could talk to animals? So what if we could time travel? So what if we? So what if we?
So, Karl, this week we're gonna. Do we say week?
Why not?
Okay. This
time.
episode.
This foray into the mind.
millennium. We're gonna talk about time travel, Karl. So
what if
the question,
we could time travel?
That is the question this week. So what if we could time travel? So I think, as we tend to do, we need to have a discussion about time travel in general before we talk about what you'd do if you could, right? Because there are many different concepts of time travel, and we need to probably address the elephants in the room, if you will. Hey,
how did the elephant get here? Did it time travel?
Exactly, that's the thing. So time traveling elephants is the concern for us right now.
Okay.
So I think we need to talk about maybe setting some ground rules for when we talk about what we would do if we time traveled, because we don't want to get into the whole mess of like causing changes to timelines and stuff like that. We just want to talk about what you would choose to do, like kind of if there was no consequences, I suppose.
Okay.
So I figured the best place we could start would be talking about time travel in general and going, right, well, how do you envisage time travel working if it were possible, right?
Okay.
Because obviously, you know, you get into this whole thing of like, well, if somebody from the future could travel into the past, then surely they've traveled into the past and told us that time travel is possible, or even give us the secrets of time travel and that kind of stuff. But then that becomes paradoxical in a way, doesn't it? Because without them coming to the past to give you the secrets of time travel, then you'd never know about time travel and wouldn't be able to time travel.
Yes, I feel like we're going to have a lot of these.
Okay,
yeah.
So you go, right, so I suppose the main key rule would be, if we're going to talk about what you would do if you could travel to the past, we need to then first go, okay, but you can't affect stuff in the past. So you can't be like, I would go back and kill Hitler, right?
Okay.
Because then that would may significantly change timelines. We can entertain it for a bit, but I think the concept we need to land on is, what would you do if you could time travel without causing consequences to the timeline? Because I have watched Avengers and I've watched like the TV series Loki and stuff, and I know what that shit had. The time agency will come and kill you.
Effect, literally.
You know, exactly. So I don't want the time agency on our back. We need to not affect the timeline, right?
Okay.
So
when you say we can go back then and not affect the time, like, do we exist? Are we there then? Like, well, so if we went back a couple of months,
well, you see, I think,
are we ourselves, or are we?
Well, you see, this is the thing where, for me, I think the only way, not that it's possible, but the only way you could travel to the past would be to revisit the past, almost like in a sense of like time's been mapped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you've mapped out a timeline, and you can revisit points in that timeline, like a recording, if you will. But you can't interact with it, right? Okay. So with that concept in mind,
so we can see ourselves.
We can travel to the past. We can revisit it, but think of it more as like you're in a bubble, and you can't interact with the past, or you can see any part of it. So you can travel anywhere in the past and see what you like, but you can't change it or affect it. So you could see Hitler, but you can't kill Hitler. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I don't know why I keep going back to Hitler.
Yeah.
It's getting a more Hitler-heavy podcast than I expected.
So what if we talk about Hitler?
So, like, for instance, and I suppose I'm pushing you towards the concept to my mind, because if we talk about traveling to the past first, like, I would probably use time travel to the past to satisfy a lot of curiosities. I'm sure most people would, where you go, when people always talk about, oh, you know, the pyramids were built by aliens, or the pyramids were built by giants, and now giants don't exist because they're extinct. And like, not that I believe those like wild theories, but I'm like, yeah, how were the pyramids built?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure I would travel back to the past in my little bubble, being able to watch it all and go, slavery, that's how. Like, because we don't know that now, so I can go and prove it for myself, you know.
So like, do we need to know like the dates and times of when to go back to, or is it like ingenious enough to just be like, I want to go back to see when the pyramids got made?
No, I think you need some knowledge of where you want to go.
See, I'd be fucked.
Yeah, but it's not to say that you can't research that. Like, if you're sat here now and you go, wonder about the pyramids, and then you can quickly Google the time that you want to. I'm not saying you're limited by, you have to know in your head where you want to go. You can, you know, you're in the present, you can interact with your own phone, you can, you know, you can look at it. So if I go like, I wonder, like, it'd be nice to have seen the Titanic in real life. Like, obviously, I don't want to watch it sink. That's kind of sadistic in a way.
Yes.
Like, but it would be nice, because I can't change anything, so I just have to watch people drown. Right? That'd be fucking
weird. That would be the best
use of
time, no.
But you go, well, I can time travel and see the Titanic. because I'm fascinated by the Titanic anyway. I can see the Titanic before it sank. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Or you can time travel back and go, well, if you know when the incident in Roswell occurred, for instance, you could time travel back and be around long enough to see what fucking crashed in Roswell.
Yeah.
The fuck was that?
Okay.
You know, that kind of thing. So that, with that in mind, let's talk about the past first of all, and let's set these rules up that you can't fuck with shit, Karl. Right?
That's my favourite thing to do.
Where would you go? Where would you travel into the past? What is there things that have just bugged you from the past, like mysteries, if you will, like who shot JFK, and you can sit on the hill next to the guy and go, "Who's this guy?" You know.
But it's stuff like that, though, isn't it? It's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'd want to watch JFK's head be exploded.
No, I get that. But would you want to go back and try and solve the mystery? Because no one, like everyone always goes, well, yeah, the guy who got arrested for it, there's no way he could have made that shot from that distance.
Yeah.
Just so you can go, oh, he did make the shot from that distance. Oh, you know, that kind of stupidness.
Yeah. I think for me, so similar to you, it'd be kind of trying to, you'd have your curiosities, things you just want to know or understand. You've got your mysteries of things that people don't know and you just want to solve. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a proper, like, grim topic to go into, right? I wouldn't know what the fuck happened to Madeleine McCann.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, from a mystery solving standpoint.
But, I mean,
and again,
this
like,
thing where
imagine if something goes,
like, you want to know,
I don't wanna
and
see that.
like, you could give yourself that answer, right?
Mm.
But then you couldn't go back to the present and go, look, I went back to the past and saw all that shit, right?
No,
so
like,
it would just disturb you, wouldn't it?
I don't want to, like, obviously hypothesize and get myself into a load of shit.
No, of course.
But say something did happen to her or whatever, and like she was buried somewhere or something. Like, do you know what I mean? I could then come up with a theory or something like under the guise
you could
of
make
theory
it like without revealing time travel.
Yeah. What if, you know what I mean? And like help,
so you'd end up becoming like
help people get closure.
I feel like we're writing a novel here. So you're like this time travel detective where you travel back to the incident. Find out what happened, and then you have to try and
solve it and
direct people to that without incriminating time travel.
Well, I didn't do it.
But but if you're there, like, I'll tell you where the bodies are. That's pretty incriminating. You know what I mean? So you would become like some sort of murder mystery solver.
So there's that element. You'd want to kind of the stuff that just people don't know. I hate not knowing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish I knew the answers to everything. So there's that aspect.
And another curious one really would be, like, because there's things you go, oh, you know, it'd be really fascinating. Like, you could travel back in time and to like, you know, when allegedly Jesus was around.
Yeah.
But then you go, you know what? Language changes that much. I mean, I barely understand what kids today are saying. So imagine trying to go back far enough and still trying to understand what fuck people are saying.
Yeah.
I'd be there like, that guy might be Jesus. Everyone's gathered around them. I don't know what the fuck anyone's saying right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is that, but at the same time, like, I would be fascinated to know, like, how these religions began and people became so religious.
Corruption, Karl.
Well, yeah.
Usually through corruption.
Well, yeah. But it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's had such an impact and effect on life. Like, stuff which, it sounds so silly to say, is like, I'd like to go back to the past to see the things that really affect us today. And it's like, well, fucking everything. But like, be a long time in this time.
Yeah.
But like, you know, major things like that where there's a whole religion. And it's like, well, how the fuck did that start?
Yeah.
Like
yeah, because really, I suppose there's only Scientology where you can actually see the start of a religion and go, that was pretty weird how that started.
Yeah. It's like, if, say for example, like the whole Adam and Eve thing, if that's real and it happened, can we go back to that then?
So if you ever suddenly, out of nowhere, become a devout Christian, I'll know that you've managed to travel back to the past.
There you go.
Can't tell me what you've seen Adam and Eve.
Well, like, you know, so how would that work then? So if you basically say, oh, I want to travel back to whatever, BC.
Well, you'd have to, like, rely on the really accurate text of the Bible to decide when that was.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, do you know what I mean? Like, could you say...
oh, fuck dinosaurs.
Could you say, I want to go back to this event, and then it's like, does not compute, because that event never happened. You know what I mean? You end up...
Well, because I suppose you'd have to pick a time. So the time would have always happened. Whether they're going to be there will be a different... And you wouldn't know exactly where it is, because obviously we can't... We're talking moving in time, which is probably another factor I should have discussed. Like, are you travelling back in time and you end up right here 100 years ago? Or are we moving through time and space?
Yeah.
And you have to know where it is as well.
Yeah,
because nobody knows where the Garden of Eden was, so then you'd never find Adam and Eve to be able to travel back in time to see that.
Yeah,
because we'd have to know where the Garden of Eden is and know when that was. Which, all right, we've got a rough idea of when based on, you know, text that isn't necessarily accurate.
Yeah, and we said so. We said we got unlimited travels.
Yeah, you've just got a time machine. You're not allowed to tell anyone about
So
it.
you go back and you're like, it didn't work.
Okay, here's
Right.
your rule. If anyone finds out about it, you'd lose the time machine.
So you're
That's
stuck,
your
you're
rule.
stuck where you are as well.
Yeah, that's your rule. Well, no, because you can't interact with the past, so
Oh,
you
yeah,
wouldn't be stuck
okay.
where you are. But
So how would
if
someone
you
find
get
out?
back to the present and you give your game away, then you don't get your time machine anymore.
How would
So
that
if you're
work
like, I'm telling you, McCann's there, right?
Yeah.
No, you can't. Like, you
But-
can't give the game away and go, I know because I have a time machine, and then show someone, then you fucking lose your time machine. You just look like a nutter with a phone.
So how would that work? What if I'm on my deathbed like 40 years after I've time travelled and by the way, I time travelled once. Does that mean
It means you can't time travel.
I never travelled in the first? You know what I mean?
No, it just means you can't time. You lose the ability to travel through time.
Okay.
That's my rule.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Like, if you say like this is your time machine, right? And
Wow, they got it so
you
small.
dial in where you want to go,
Yeah.
right? Proper Bill and Ted style, right?
Oh yeah.
But the minute you try and tell someone or show someone, they're just like, that's a phone, dickhead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell anyone. You can't. It's
Right.
impossible for you to
Okay.
make anyone else aware of time travel.
Okay.
And if you try to, you lose the ability.
Okay. Well,
That's the rule of
so in
setting
that
you.
case, one of the places.
I'm just making this shit up, by the way.
One of the places.
I don't know why this is a rule, but it is. All right.
I like it. There needs to be method to the madness, right? I want to go back and see the creation of the universe.
Okay.
What it was it the Big Bang? Is that, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, probably, yeah.
what happened? Like, I want to see that. I want to know. Because obviously, it's science's best guess, right?
But again, here's another one. If the rule, the arbitrary rule I set up was that you have to know when,
Yeah.
you can only really kind of guesstimate that.
That's why I'm saying, is it unlimited? I'd be like, all right, go back another 100 years. Go
Well,
100
still
years.
stuff. Keep
Yeah.
going.
And then I go back far enough to the point where I'm like, oh, there's not any.
Ah.
or was there?
Okay. Travel back to zero.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's the thing, because, like, I suppose that's a weird concept because time is relative. Like, we've invented time in a way, right? Obviously, time is a concept that exists. So, the way we measure it, we've invented. You know, it obviously exists, but we're measuring our rotation around our sun in our galaxy. So, like, you can't measure time in the universe the same way that we measure time around the sun. So
how would that work?
if you're then saying, I want to go back to the Big Bang, how do you even measure time to put yourself there? Because the way we measure time is just based around our revolutions of our one little star in the universe.
I guess I'd have to be like, okay, take me back another 1,000 years.
Yeah,
Take
and
me
just
back
keep going.
another thought, and then
Yeah.
until hopefully you see something. But
So that might be a really long fucking thing to be, that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, because time just blows your mind in that sense. Like, the way over the years people have measured it differently, or the way like the Mayans calendar is nothing like our calendar and so on like that. And the whole way we sort of map shit is just based on our experience, isn't it? And you take the whole universe into account, that becomes a much bigger, unusual problem.
Yeah, definitely. But I think yes. So I want to see that. I want to see how we came to be.
Oh, dinosaurs. You want to see
Well,
some
there you
dinosaurs?
go. There's your next one.
Did they have feathers?
Well,
Did they?
so
Probably.
Well, birds were around. They're still the longest living dinosaurs, right? They were around back then.
Oh yeah, apparently, like they're like well, I may not have the science on this accurate, so apologies any scientists who are like, you're talking bollocks, but isn't like the idea that birds are like what dinosaurs became in a way. Like, do you know what I mean? It's got smaller and thing.
Yeah.
But like they say, because I didn't know this, right? And again, apologies if anyone's more accurate than I am. This is all stuff I've read that I've not fact checked, but apparently most of when you go to a museum and you see dinosaur bones and stuff, most of those bones are like fake, because it's hard to find a full skeleton from a dinosaur, because they were very bird-like in the sense of the bone density, because they have a much lighter bone density. They degraded faster, so it's hard to find a complete. You can find there are legitimate bones they found, but they have to sort of make up the rest from what they've figured out.
And
you don't have a complete skeleton.
We're going off track here.
Even though you go into a
they-
museum, you see a full T-Rex there. That's not
Have they
because-
found every single bone in isolation so they know or if they had to just make some assumptions? All the time we I reckon a T-Rex has got tiny arms like this. And really, they've just made some assumptions along the way because they couldn't find them bones.
Well, I imagine, like, because they have, as time's moved on, and I'm no architect here, but I believe as time's moved on, they've had to adjust some of their belief, or they've gone, oh, actually, this is the case.
Yeah.
You know, some of the stuff they seem really, really sure on, like about velociraptors, like sharp claws and shit like that. So I imagine they've been fairly conclusive in
they've
what
either
they
got
found on
fossils
that.
or they've got...
Yeah. But I feel like especially when they talk looks, they've had to speculate that they were very lizard-like and so on like that. And then I think that changed over time, which is when they joked about.
Yeah.
Did they have feathers? Because it's like, well, they reckon that like velociraptors again, that they were probably more like feather-like plumage than they were like, T-Rex like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you talk about like evolution and all that. Maybe they had to evolve from the Ice Age, whatever was still around.
Well, it's fascinating. Another thing that, and again, the accuracy won't be here because I'm no scientist. I ain't no scientician, right? But we always like, as just people, as laymen, if you will, we always conflate dinosaurs and go dinosaurs, the dinosaur era, right? But apparently, like, there's more distance between like T-Rex and Stegosaurus than there is between us and T-Rex.
Yeah.
Like, because you go like when we've watched Friends, so we got know some of these bits, and you go like the Cretaceous period and so on like that. Yeah, so like you talk about it like dinosaurs.
They were all together living in in harmony.
But it's kind of not. So you kind of have like different periods of time when you go. So like they must have been could have been vastly different to them because they were all different periods of time anyway.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even go back in time and go dinosaurs.
No.
You know
but again, that's why unlimited time travel is the most useful because you need to see all of it.
Okay, this is kind of fun for me because you've said that a few times now. Your challenge now.
Don't make me pit like
no.
You've got 4 places.
You've got 5 time travels. No, you caused this yourself by saying unlimited too many times. So we can go to the past. We've, I think, roughly established the rules here. You've got 5 time travels. Where are you going?
That's so difficult to do.
No, it's not. You've got 5.
Jesus. Well, I mean, the ones I've said so far. But again, it's hard. I wouldn't be able to use them because I wouldn't know for certainty when they were.
I'm intrigued. Well, you could research. You're allowed to research.
Yeah, but we're talking about like the start of the fucking universe.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So that might not be one of your 5 because you can't accurately pick that.
Yeah.
So you've got 5, and you can do some research.
Okay.
So you're probably only going to pick things that are accurate that you can accurately get to. So like, and would you do it for gain? Because you can go to the past, you can find stuff out that you could use now. Like, or where did DB Cooper bury his money or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, assuming that actually happened. Again, possibly not one you could do in 5 trips. But my point being, would you do anything where you go, I'll go back to then and find out? Like,
how long can you stay there? So if you get it wrong and you're like, I was out by a year, can you just stay in your bubble for a whole year?
You can, but you will still age.
Fucking hell. Listen,
you need to take some snacks and shit.
You're like an evil scientist here, just inventing these rules.
Look, it's my time machine. Do you want it or not?
So you invented it. Okay. God, that's so difficult, to actually try and think.
There's certain things you could probably. I'm trying to think of a good example, but you could go back to the past.
Yeah, I mean, yours is a good one. Like Titanic, you know when it was constructed, you know when it was ready to set sail.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to go back and go, I want to see that in the flesh before it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun one.
Yeah, but
like another fun one I reckon would be you could see Pompeii before the volcano.
You
see a thriving civilization before it,
Yeah, well, yeah. I wouldn't want to go back to the when it erupted.
Oh, damn! Meant to go back a little bit further. Yeah, I take your point. Yeah, you want to get that accurate.
Yeah, I mean, to be like, I know it's dead morbid, isn't it? But I'm just so fascinated by the case. I like Madeleine McCann would be there. I want to know. Okay. And I think it's well documented enough to know the day that happened, so I could. Go back
to be fair, you probably, if you could research beforehand, I think you know the exact day that it happened, so you could do that.
Yeah.
I won't even delve into that too much because that's quite morbid, but I understand why from a
just from a curiosity standpoint. You know what I mean? God. Okay, you give me one. What's one of yours?
No.
Say it's not easy, is it?
5 travels. Okay. I'm trying
the podcast where we think.
Would you want to go back to historic events? Go like you'll never be able to prove you were there, but you were there.
You know what I mean? What those events were.
Like
there's not many like happy, fun, historic events. It's all like wars, death, and stuff.
Well, you're a big fan of the United States. So would you want to go back to I saw the Declaration of Independence being signed.
Nah, boring as fuck, that wouldn't it?
Well, I imagine so. And you probably wouldn't understand what anyone was fucking saying, but things like that.
Yeah, probably not.
No,
not for that.
You're British. Would you not want to go back to the coronation of the Queen?
No, would I fuck?
Okay.
No.
Coronation Street season 1?
Now you're talking. that time that coronation tricking was invented.
Yeah, that boss that is.
Yeah. Honestly, it's so difficult. I think just having to know the exact day and time. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's loads of things that I'd want to go back to, like dinosaurs and seeing like religion and the universe and things. I mean, like ancient Egypt, I'm fascinated by, but I don't know off the top of my head. Is there a certain point I want to go back? You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to see Tutankhamun and all that, but.
I suppose. I mean, do you want to see them like alive and kicking, or do you want to see like, because obviously the pyramids were built as tombs, so you kind of like, do you want to see the person in the tomb, or do you want to see like the person alive and kicking?
Probably see him alive and see how he died,
or, like,
and
Cleopatra.
Yeah, stuff like that. But like you go back to like Stonehenge but
people don't know how that was done. That'd be a fascinating one. Again, because they don't know how. I don't suppose you'd know what time. But
that's what's so hard, though.
Yeah.
Like you've ruining the show by making
I'm ruining your fun.
Times. Okay. So I can't answer it because I don't know.
To be honest, I'm trying to think of 5, and it is difficult. So
Yeah.
I apologise because I did put that on you, but it is quite a difficult one to go right now. Top of your head, 5. I want you to make a list. It's your homework.
Okay. listeners, watchers, you do the same. You have to make.
Damn right, yeah.
Be 5.
That's fun.
But it's like you could be like, I don't know, you could be more sentimental and stuff, and be like, oh, I want to go back to like when my son was born. Like maybe not on the day because that was a pretty terrible day for everyone involved.
It's like
that sounded awful. Love your son, not because of you, not because you were born into the world, but obviously, yeah, that was not a fun time. But you know what I mean, like to be able to see. So
you think you'd maybe try and spend some of that on happy memories and just revisit them again?
I think so, yeah. Like even like as he's got a bit older and like some of his
Or you're that filled with anxiety that you revisit embarrassing moments from your teenagers. You're like, you're an idiot!
Why did you do that? A couple I can think of being on a hill somewhere, you convincing me like you're gonna think differently in the morning.
This is drunk Karl talking.
So there's a few I'd be like, look, go back, go. What the fuck are you thinking? But
It's like, go back and find out where the fuck are my car keys. I definitely put them on the side.
Yeah, I mean it's something that you like just you've lost and you never. I tell you where I would like to go back to. I want to go back to the day I got burgled.
And find out who did it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the most likely strangers, aren't they?
They are, but I'd know who the fuck they are. And they would get the comeuppance.
Well, how would you know who the fuck they are? Because you can go back and you can see them.
Yeah,
how would you find out who they are?
Well,
extensive Googles.
Well, yeah. If you know what someone looks like, you'd be able to track them down, right?
Mind you, I suppose if you went back to that day...
Do you follow them?
There's a vehicle or something, isn't there? So you get, even if you just got the registration,
I'd follow them,
crack on.
so they know where they are. I want to know what they did with my stuff.
Mm-hmm. We'll hunt them down and kick their ass.
Exactly. I will find you.
A particular set of skills. And a time-travelling phone for some reason.
I have a particular set of skills. Time travel. But yeah, that's one.
Okay.
Guaranteed. I want to know who them cunts are.
That's
and I want to chop the bollocks off. I mean, that's sexist. Or their tits.
Either way, things getting chopped.
Yeah.
Equality.
But yeah, that's, yeah.
That's fair.
That's caused me some sleepless nights over the years.
Yeah, so, anxiety filled in it. So
there's vengeance to be had there.
Vengeance. Karl with a vengeance. See, Karl's took this to a really dark place now.
I know, yeah. People get murdered, or bad things have happened to me where I would then go on to commit more murders. So yeah,
nice.
I'll go there.
Okay.
Other than that, putting timescales on it, I think it's hard.
Yeah, I like the idea of like revisiting particularly happy memories. Though that's quite nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of when was a time I was happy. You know what? Like, would be like if I could know the date and stuff. Like stuff I don't remember as a kid, or stuff. You know what I mean? Stuff I've kind of got vague memories of that I'd like to be like. I'd like to be in that moment. Do you know what I mean? Like there was just like silly stuff. Like I remember like my dad one time saying to me, we used to have like this thing, it's like we call it the pull down. We used to keep like towels in it and stuff.
Right.
It's like, I'll just go in the pull down and get me a towel or something. And I'd go in there and like I opened it and there was like loads of like cowboys and Indian toys. And I was like,
nice.
I'm not meant to know I've got them. I brought him the towel and he's like, did you not see the fucking toys, dickhead? And stuff, you know what I mean? But like, that's the way I remember it. But it's like, I'd like to go back and just be like, see me as like a kid full of like wonder, being like, you know what I mean, over stupid stuff.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
That'd be nice.
That's what kind of reminded me, because I assume your dad was quite notorious for hiding things.
Yeah.
At the time we found them games.
Okay, I was like, what to be?
No, because like I always remember like I can't remember how that quite happened. I probably shouldn't confess it. Like, I don't know if he ever told you that we did.
No, it's fine. I don't think you okay.
One time we found, like, yeah, he got you some games to the PlayStation.
Like Christmas or something, yeah.
And we found them in I think it was where the meter was.
The lucky meter, wasn't it? Yeah.
And we found them there, played them, put them back.
Did we actually?
Yeah. Do you remember that?
I remember that. You know.
Yeah. We found them in there.
Lock that out of my mind.
When your mum and dad went home, we found them in there. So we played the games for a bit. We put them back and sent notes. And so I'm like, did you used to just normally hide things around your house then?
Yeah, must have done. To be fair, yeah. I get pretty proud about that. But yes, like, you know what? Yeah, like that's another one. I would go back to teenagers. A Friday pizza night. One time, just go back and just be like,
Just watch it.
look, yeah, just be like
You gotta go right. So Karl, he's gonna travel back in time and watch Teenage Boys.
one
What the fuck?
of my five was just go back and watch yourself play games with my friend. You know, you're talking about like
Jesus.
talking about like times of whimsy and stuff like.
No, I get
I'm
you,
so
you gotta
old,
revisit,
and, like,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean, maybe, you know, more of a particular time than just a random Friday. Like, well, I obviously we used to have loads of fun, didn't we? Just like before, like life kicked our ass and we had like jobs and mortgages and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's just go back to like when life didn't have pressure.
yeah, I just like to go back and be like, look at you silly cunt. Like,
You don't know what life's
you've
gonna
no
do to you,
idea
so-
what's coming. But yeah. Anyway, you're giving me shit, right? I think I've named about 5 now. What have you named?
Not.
Exactly. So come on, live by your own rules.
I
want
want
to
the
know.
facilitator of your journey.
No,
I don't
you
need
were
to
not.
answer shit.
Come on.
I like your idea of revisiting happy memories. I'm a little bit apprehensive in some senses of like there's obviously people in my life who I miss.
Yeah.
And you go, well, I could go back and see them. But then I'm like, but I can't interact with them. So like, is that just kind of sad again? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you just have to like then go, oh, off I go, you know?
Yeah.
So you can't stay there. You can't interact with them. You can just go back and go, that was them. You know, I don't know. In a way, as much as in my head it sounds like a nice idea to visit people you miss and haven't seen
Yeah.
in such a long time.
It could end
But
up
at the
being
same
the
time, you
opposite.
go, well, that might actually make it worse in some way.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I'd want to do that. But yeah, I mean, it is. I don't know why I put the limitation on us because it's fucking difficult.
See, so there you go. Yeah, I think that in itself is fascinating, though, isn't it? Is you could go back to certain things, but then it might not. Like, it might even worsen the memory you had of something. I mean, like, I'm there, like, I'd go back to this time that I remember so well, maybe living it in the moment and seeing stuff that.
Watching it as a viewer as well.
Yeah, because like imagine like the amount of times that you've had a really good moment, but you don't know what's just happened to those people before that.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, say for example, like those that like when my dad got me, there was like cowboys and Indians or something. Maybe like he was skint, he had no money or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
He
you
was
realize
stressed
it, and you're like, shit. Yeah,
and I
August
feel
to make me
worse.
happy.
Like to me, I'm like, it was nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'd be like,
So seeing it through the eyes of a
you'd
kid
have
is probably
remorse
better.
and
Yeah,
guilt, wouldn't you? So
yeah. No, it's a fair point. That. Yeah. So maybe seeing it from a different angle isn't necessarily the right thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I like that. Going back to like your wild moments in history.
Yeah.
I actually feel like I might. I'm not sure exactly when, and I'd have to make sure it's like from the safety of my own bubble. But like I might like revisit like World War II and stuff. You know, like just to kind of almost get an appreciation for what Britain went through. You know what I mean?
Oh God.
Because I feel like we have it so easy now.
Yeah.
We like there are things that everyone stresses about in life now. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah.
Like, but you go, maybe that make you go, you know what? At least we're not getting bombed.
Yeah, I remember seeing those like pictures and stuff of like people before and after war, and, like the shell shock and all that, and I'm just like, oh, imagine if you go back and you just start to see, you know what I mean? Like that would scar you as though you've been.
That's the thing, yeah. No, I think it'd be as daft as it sounds. I think it'd be like I'd have to carefully go back to that era, like knowing history, and you can literally map out like when places were bombed. But I wouldn't go back to like when that particular location was bombed. You go back to that location at that time, sort of see what it was like, in a fascinating sense, rather than to a dangerous sense. I wouldn't be like, I want to go to like fucking the beaches, you know, or anything. Like I don't want to be in the thick of it. I just kind of want to see that time and see the way day to day people were trying to sort of, you know.
I mean, I'm fascinated to like the Victorian time stuff and life before like TV and stuff, like what people did and things. You know what I mean? Like in the same way.
Boring people.
No, but like obviously you say you get an appreciation from war, which you would do, but I imagine you just have an appreciation for how technology's moved on and life has moved on today.
Yeah.
The things we have that we take for granted that you didn't even used to have back then. You'd be mad to see how they used to live. And again, I'm going back to murders and serial killers, but my dad was fascinated with Jack the Ripper, and no one knows who it was. I'd love to know, because my dad's got a theory on it, and it's a known theory. Like, it's been published in a couple of books, and it's like I'd love to be able to say to him, because I couldn't tell him no.
I mean, suppose if we're saying, if we're in the rule of 5, then the only consequences of telling people is that you lose the ability to time travel.
Yeah.
So if you did all your 5 and then told him, it wouldn't fucking matter.
Or I could either tell him his theory was right or wrong, or I could find evidence that would support. You know what I mean? And kind of be mischievous.
Like, I was dagging that. Oh shit!
I found this. So the stuff like that, definitely. But okay, so removing like the whole you can only do 5 and all that, because that's just fucking my brain. So is there any other major things in the past that, because obviously like dinosaurs, like religion and all that, pyramids and Stonehenge, like things that we don't know. I think the Area 51 thing
that'd be a great one.
Yeah, I'd love to know that.
Because you could time that well enough where you could go, you got the incident in Roswell, and as I understand it, and obviously they built Area 51 around said incident, didn't they?
Yeah.
So you'd be there before Area 51 was Area 51.
You
get to know exactly what fucking happened.
Yeah. Like, it's fascinating, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so much stuff that's unknown.
And then, because we know fuck all about anything, it'd be like, well, something crashed, some blokes turned up, put a fence around it, I now have cracked that mystery. You're like, no idea what the fuck that was.
What was it?
Like, it's a thing. It's a thing.
But I mean, even in the off chance you could see it and it didn't look human or something. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
You'd be like,
like
that's all kinds of fucked up. Yeah. You're not allowed to poke the alien.
Well, yeah. In your bubble, aren't you? So you're just poking your bubble.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, stuff like that. I'd be wildly fascinated to see.
Okay, so let's change the game a little.
Okay.
I've made some changes to the time machine now, Carl.
Okay, tinkering. Been tinkering.
You can travel to the future. You can interact with the future, because obviously it won't affect your past. However, the consequence for you is that knowledge you gain from the future can affect your past. And therefore, if you go back, say you go to the future and you go, okay, this new fucking Apple fucking device, or I'm trying to think of a company. Let's say you find out that the Karl phone becomes a thing, right? Like some guy named Karl, right? But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you go back and go, I'm going to invest in this company, and you consequently become the reason that it becomes successful. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you can use information or whatever you get from the future to the past, but then it might become like a full circle of you end up, because you're the consequence of your own actions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to bear that in mind.
Okay.
So if you go to the future, you can meddle with stuff, but should you? You know what I mean?
And again, it's unlimited.
So you're not in a bubble now. You get to the future, go as many times as you like. What point in the future would you go? How far in the future would you go? What would you want to do? You can speak to people, you can interact with people. So you could speak to your children's children. Right?
Mad.
They'll just think you're some sort of lunatic because you're going, I'm your great grand, you know. And they're like, no, you're just a crazy old man.
And then you end up in jail.
Exactly. So you might end up locked up in a mental home.
Yeah.
Because no one believes you.
Yeah.
But you can go to the future as much as you
I mean, so talking of immediates, I don't think most people would. I'd get the lottery numbers. You know what they are. Like, just go forward a couple of days, know what they are, go back, do me ticket,
it's like,
win the lottery.
Karl on Friday. Like,
yeah. Right? So I'd have an immediate win.
Right, okay.
Straight away. I don't think that would negatively affect that many people, unless me winning the lottery caused something. Do you know what I mean? I don't think.
Well, again, because you've only gone 2 days in the future, so you haven't, like, in a way, you don't know the consequence because you haven't gone far enough forward to know the consequence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you've gone to the future to get the lottery numbers, you've always gone to the future to get the lottery numbers. You were always destined to win the lottery, become rich, and affect your future however you affected your future. But by winning the lottery, your future's entirely changed. So when you visit the future now, you visit the future as seeing the future of rich Karl, which you weren't until 2 days ago. Do you know what I'm saying?
Ooh. So
by
that logic,
in a way, if you travel to the future, if you choose not to do the lottery thing...
So basically every choice you make, so wherever you go first will affect all your future choices.
Yeah. So if you choose not to do the lottery thing, you're traveling to current Karl's future.
Jesus.
Right? So if your first step is get rich, then that's going to affect Karl's future, and that's assuming you go to the future to look at your own timeline.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, you could then consequently find out when you die, and that could be very anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm in 2035 here to see no sign of Karl. That might be a bit like, oh.
Well, I'm guessing you can go beyond your death, right?
Yeah, you can go beyond your death, but like, I suppose the concept of if you travel to a point, like, say you go, I'm only gonna. I hate to do the Twilight Zone horrible bollocks to you, but let's say you go, I'll travel forward a couple of days to win the lottery, and you travel forward a couple of days and find out you're not there.
Yeah, because I've died.
Right.
Yeah.
So that'll fuck you up pretty quick, won't it?
Yeah.
So you go, okay, is that something you want to know? You know what I mean?
I suppose then I'd be like, okay, can you re-tinker the time machine so I can go back to the past, live a bit longer?
No.
But yeah, okay, because it's so difficult, isn't it? Like, I would want to know who comes to my funeral.
So you want to visit your own funeral?
Yeah, which I think would be
You'd
trippy.
be one of your own guests.
It'd be trippy, yeah. I'd be there.
They'd be there.
The only
Picture of
guest.
Karl up, big picture of Karl up next to the coffin, and you're sat on a chair just watching it.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
Be like, I don't believe Antony didn't cry. What a cunt.
but the rest of everyone at the funeral will be like, why the fuck is Karl sat watching this? That's definitely him, right? Did he have a twin?
Oh
Like,
shit, yeah.
the fuck's this dude?
I'm not in my bubble anymore, am I? Okay.
You'd have to put a disguise on to visit your own funeral.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'd do
And
that.
now, because we had this discussion, I'm going to be looking around for a guy in disguise. Like a fake nose and shit.
Yeah, okay. But no, I'd have to somehow, like, covertly.
Is that kind of, no offense when I say this, is that kind of narcissistic to want to know how many people?
I think so, yeah. But I mean, it's one of, like, because I'm an atheist, right? So I don't think I'm gonna like rise from my body and be able to see. You know what I mean?
I'm fascinated. Let's talk about that in a sec. Actually,
Okay. But like, I don't think I'm gonna be
probably
able
not
to.
for this episode, really, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, but like, so for me, at the point I'm dead, I'm just dead. So I don't know. So I won't know how people will feel. So I guess it's narcissistic to care and be like, you know what I mean? But it's like at the same time, it's like, I wonder who would actually show up, because there's people in your life.
See, would
and
you
you're
want
like,
loads of people?
No, not
I'm
really.
kind of like, I don't
Like
like.
fucking Times
No,
Square, right?
I don't like attention as it is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Ironic for someone who's trying to put himself on the internet and get famous.
Yeah.
Kidding. So I don't really like focus. If a group of people are focused on me, that.
But you
kind
don't
of,
like it because you're conscious.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, if I went back in the past to see just how many people turned up to look at my dead self,
Yeah.
like I was somebody who never really liked that much attention anyway. So is that really a good thing? You know what I mean? Like,
No, I get it, but I think I don't know. I wouldn't expect loads of those people to turn up, but you obviously have all these acquaintances and stuff in life, and it'd be trippy anyway, because if you're like, well, why the fuck wasn't Antony there? It's like, oh, did he die? You know what I mean? Did he die before me? Like, you don't know, because that'd mess you up anyway. But like,
there in your mansion with your money that I know you got.
yeah,
I killed you, Karl.
that's more accurate, I think. I like the joke. But yeah, so narcissistic perhaps, but I think that'd be something I'd want to see. Do you want to go into the weird whatever you were going to talk about that was off topic before I move on to other places?
No, we'll finish time travel and we'll revisit that. We'll put a pin in that. We're going to talk about your atheist beliefs.
Okay. So yeah, there's that aspect. Obviously, I'd want to see my son grown up, because God forbid something happened. I mean, so would this work? Because yeah, you can go beyond your own life, right? Say for example, I died tomorrow and I never got to see my son grow up.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a fear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I get that. So
I'd love to know how he turned out.
Okay, so forgive this because this is kind of a weird way of putting it, because you're always going to care on a level,
Yeah.
right? But you'd want to see your son grow up, right? That's super important to you because you have a relationship with him, right? And then I imagine you go, well, he's got kids, so let's see how they turn out, right? How far forward in your own family lineage would you need to go before it'd be kind of like, well, I don't even know who the fuck these people are now. Do you know what I mean?
You know, it's a fantastic question.
Like,
probably
your
not.
son has 2 kids,
Yeah.
and then they have kids, and then they have kids.
Yeah.
Like, how far forward did you go before you're like, well, it's nice that my family legacy's carrying on, but I don't even know who the fuck these guys are.
I probably wouldn't go more than grandkids, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't expect myself to be here to see a great grandkid.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'd take your point. So you're like, well, yeah,
I wouldn't have known anyway.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, so I probably wouldn't be like, let me look at, thousands of generations of Rolands in the future, and it's just like,
Yeah.
all little tiny.
But in a way, you could keep track of the name. You could go right far into the future, keep track of the name, right? And you could even affect your past. You could say to Ryan, like, promise me you'll keep a good family tree, and you'll make your kids keep a good family tree. So you get to the future and you've got this really detailed family tree because everyone kept their promise to you. So you can see like, oh, you look at that, the King of England is my great.
I mean, I'm not bothered by this, but it's something I've always quite liked the fact I've got a boy because it's like, can I say my surname? The surname will live on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then I'm part of me's thinking like for people who've only had girls, then your family name's not gonna. It stops there.
It depends if you go with traditional values, the way the world's moving these days.
But like, you know what I mean?
But it's more likely. Yeah.
So like, I'd like to know how long that kind of went on for, maybe, but I wouldn't really be that bothered. But
I don't think. When did it change completely?
Yeah.
When did everyone become Smith?
Yeah, it's just easier that
the
way.
whole world.
Yeah, it's just easier. Yeah, so I'd want to see that. And how about you? Any? For I'm just like, here's all the things I would do.
Here's all the things I would do. I think as much as I threw this sort of slight thought at you before, I think I would agree with you in a sense of like you'd want to make sure your family and that's set. So probably one of the first stops would be like winning the lottery, like you say.
Yeah.
And you go, right, that's boxed. And I'm aware that that would change my future and therefore change any future I could visit. But that would be the first stop because the aim would be then straight away, like make sure everyone's sorted. Make sure you don't have to worry another day in your life.
It reminds me of that Ricky Gervais joke where he's talking about like why he doesn't want kids because he'd have a little Hampstead cunt because it'd be brought into ridiculous wealth. And it's like, I wonder whether, depending on the order you do you then, when you see what your kids turned out to be, do they become little cunt because they're just rich?
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Because it does have that knock-on effect. Like, but I don't even know as much as I don't want to sound like one of these people because I've always argued with these people. Right, I'll go into this and it's like where you go like, oh, I just want enough, right? Because and when I say I've always argued with these people, right? Sorry, mum, right? But I've argued with my mum over this because my mum's always done that. She's like, I just want to, just a little win and do just enough to keep everyone happy. And I'm like, no, if you're gonna get one win, right, you make it a fucking big win. I've always disagreed with on this. You go, no, if I'm only going to win the lottery once in my life, which is already fairly unlikely to win the lottery. Most people don't, you know what I mean? Yeah. If you're only going to get one lottery win, you want it to be a fucking big win. Right? But then at the same time, in this scenario where you go, like, I don't want enough money that then, like you say, it becomes family money and then corrupts future generations and go, well, they're just little toppy nose, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You go, do you just want to win enough that everyone is comfortable, everyone who you love and you care about is comfortable, but they're not like complacent and lazy and arrogant, you know what I mean? So I suppose in that sense, when you look at it like you can see that far into the future because we've got time travel, then you go, well, yeah, I don't want to win it, I don't want to like orchestrate a scenario where there's enough
whether the background moved because
where you can like give yourself enough money that it becomes like that whole ridiculous wealth and therefore like potential for like people not appreciating the value of money,
Like, to be fair, me and my dad have had this debate a couple of times of like how much is enough. Do you know what I mean? Like you see people who like have become like, say, I mean, Ricky Gervais, for example, he's obviously fucking loaded, and it's like he's going and doing these world tours clearly because he fucking loves it, because he doesn't need to be. He's set for life.
This is in a way. This is what I kind of like. That's, I think, one of the good things that comes from wealth in a sense. Like you look at like the super rich, right? And like I think somebody made and again I'm trying to quote things that I'm not knowledgeable enough on to debate this. So apologies if anyone's going to disagree with me. But I remember I saw something where they were talking about billionaires, and they basically made the statement that all billionaires are corrupt, or all billionaires are all their money comes from negativity and so on. And they were like, well, no, some billionaires are lovely people, and like, but it depends how you look at how you gain your money, because you can't gain, like when you look at just how much just a billion alone, when you look at how much that actually is, because when you can, like, you bring it down to say a billion, it's stupid as it sounds, it makes it sound a little less when you can just say it like that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a lot, like a ridiculous amount of money, just 1 billion, and you've got people like Elon Musk and like who've got multi-billions, right? And you go, well, there's no way that you can gain that money without benefiting from people's labor and effort and people who are struggling. So there's no way, even if you're not aware of it, there's no way you can be a wonderful, benevolent billionaire when you are clearly benefiting from other people suffering. Yeah. There's no possible way to class yourself as like a wonderful person and a billionaire. Yeah. And that was the argument that they were roughly, I may have not explain that in the most accurate way as it was when I read it. But that was sort of what they were trying to explain. Is like, if you truly are a humanitarian and a loving person, you wouldn't be a billionaire, because you are.
It's an interesting
someone
argument.
negatively affected by you being a billionaire.
It's an interesting argument. So if you became a billionaire, would you give everybody money?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
I would be corrupt. I'd just be aware of it.
Yeah, but no, it's it's fascinating though, because like, you think of people who's like a multi-billionaire who would never spend.
I know we're delving away from time travel, but
we need to get back.
Money, because the concept of money is a bit of a strange one, because you look at, like, I've always found this fascinating. You look at the likes of Elon Musk and the likes of Jeff Bezos and stuff like that. They're not like, it's not like money in the bank.
Yeah, it's like their worth, isn't it?
Yeah,
from all the other stuff.
They're worth billions, but like. And I'm by no means feeling sorry for when they say this, but like, Elon Musk can walk around and say he's a billionaire. I get that, right? But if he was to turn around and go, you know what, I want to retire, I want to cash out, I just want my money, I want to live on an island on my pile of cash, and he starts selling his Tesla stock, right? The minute he starts selling his Tesla stock and people see that Elon Musk is selling Tesla stock,
that falls.
The value of that stock drops, because there's panic, right? So he can never truly cash out, can he?
No.
So it's always just, that's what he's worth, in theory.
It's not his whole, it's cold hard cash.
So you go, well, like, okay, so he's basically just, you can put a label on it and say he's a billionaire, but he's basically just, he can get whatever he wants. That's the concept for him, isn't it? You can put a number on it, but he is someone who can go, I want this. I want to put a car in space. And they go, yeah, fuck it, here's some money. Right? Look, when he wanted to buy Twitter, he never had the money in his pocket for Twitter. He turned around and said, I want to buy Twitter, and my company is worth this. And they've gone, well, there's the money for Twitter. Yeah. That's, that's, again, I may be, I'm not the most aware when it comes to how financials work, but essentially that was it. He balanced his sort of stocks and worth to be able to buy Twitter. He didn't have billions to buy Twitter. He used, so he's someone who can do whatever he wants. And you go, well, at what point does that number become irrelevant? Yeah. No, if you called him a billionaire or a multi-billionaire, he can still do whatever the fuck he wants. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. No, like, it's funny because you get into that whole, like, we're wrestling fans and we talk about wrestling on another show of ours, and you go, well, Vince McMahon and Tony Khan, and you go, oh, Tony Khan's got much more money than Vince. And you go, but they're both billionaires. Yeah. So they can both pretty much do what they want, so does it matter? Yeah. Like, at what point does it become super fucking irrelevant? Yeah. No, it's fair. And going back to the point you were making about, like, Ricky Gervais, is I love when actors and the like get to that level of wealth where they do it for the art. Yeah. Because I think that's where it always should be anyway, especially with art. Yeah. And I always loved the concept of, like, film and TV being classed as an art form. Yeah. I think is it Switzerland who class it as, like, that's part of art and culture. Yeah. Whereas to be clear as well, it wasn't like me coming at Ricky Gervais. Like, I think, like, professional football is not worth like $700,000 a week and all that's like. Yeah. For what? You know what I mean? But the point you were making about Ricky saying, like, he does it because he enjoys it is exactly like, you see a few people like that, like Robert Downey Jr. or Samuel L. Jackson, people like that who clearly right now they're just doing films or shows that they want to do. Yeah. They're not doing it to pay the bills anymore. And you can tell by what they're picking, because there's a time when you pick what you can get as an actor, and there's a time when you go, I've made it and I'll pick the stuff that I'm interested in and I want to do. I think it makes it, then you can tell they're doing it for the love of, which I think's great. It's nice to see. Agreed. So there's some benefits to the wealth. There is. But going back to time travel. So we did, I can't remember how we got onto so money-wise, I would go back and I would win. But you can't really control your win, can you? You can go, these lottery numbers. But you'd have to just go. So for me, I'd go forward to see what the numbers were, how many people won it. If 100 people won it, I'd go, I'll go forward again. Right. So basically, try and win. It was either like a rollover to the point where I'm going to be the sole winner. Right. Like, okay, that's money in the bank for me. I wouldn't just go, numbers, go back and be like, you've won a tenner, because everyone else won. It's like, for fuck's sake. I wouldn't do that. But so winning the lottery. Okay. Then obviously you've just said that's going to change your future. So you're now Rich Karl. So you're visiting Rich Karl's future. Any other trip, you're visiting Rich Karl's future. Okay, so what else would you do? So I've obviously said I'd win the lottery. I'd go forward and see my funeral. I'd go forward and see my son growing up. I'd to be honest, I don't know if I'd put a specific sort of time on it, but I'd probably go forward, like, just to maybe a few decades, just to see how technology moves. And I'll probably do that a few times. Yeah. Because you look at the difference between, like, the first iPhone coming out in 2006, 2007 to now, and you go, that technology was leaps and bounds. So I would just maybe jump forward 20 years, just see what technology is doing. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, sheer curiosity from a technology point. We could see how famous we got. You know, that kind of thing.
Probably
not.
Yeah, probably not the best use of the machine. Would you? So here's one. Could you go forward to the end of the world, assuming it ends?
I suppose we have the similar problem to what we were saying about going into the past. You wouldn't know exactly when to set
but
that.
Could you keep going forward?
You could keep going. So yeah, that wouldn't be a problem.
What happens if? Because
bear in mind you can now interact. Yeah, so
because you're not in your bubble.
Be there.
If you kept going forwards and you managed to go forward
in space and suffocating. Yeah.
But then could you still use your time machine, or wouldn't that be there anymore and you just fuck yourself?
Yeah, you would be able to, but it'd be like depends where you land yourself. You land yourself suddenly, like in the depths of space. You probably wouldn't even have. I think you get like 5 seconds at that. You get a breath, don't you, to survive? So you'd probably be dead before you got a chance to even do anything.
Okay.
So you need to be very careful of that. If the planet's not there anymore, you're fucked.
I'd use the time machine to travel to the astronaut store because I'm lazy. I just use this to get around as well, you know.
Okay.
And I'd get my astronaut suit, so I'm prepared. Yeah. And then be fine, right?
Okay, that's fair.
But it's stuff like that. So it comes back to like we were kind of outlining different kind of things of like things we were curious about, or like discoveries, or like family stuff, or like personal things. But like I'm just so curious to see, like obviously as you say, technology, how that evolves. Like realistically, if we've got a time machine at this point and we're going forward, then I imagine other people know time machine things exist. So people will be building them and they're popping up everywhere? No.
Unless you're going to give away time machine technology.
Well, no, but like, what if someone finds it? What? People know what you've been doing. You're dead now.
So you've gone to a future where someone stole
Everyone's
my
got a time machine
blueprints. Fuck's sake, Karl.
Because if you think about it, you mentioned how's technology evolved. If time travel technology became a thing, every fucker would have it, and they'd be using it for what I've just said, for travel. Like they'd be saving themselves half an hour on a commute.
Well, then you go like, in a way, like, was it Family Guy who did this? Weirdly said. I know, yeah, it's great. So when you say about to be using it for travel, was it Family Guy who did this as a concept? When you remember when Family Guy was cancelled? Didn't think we'd spoken about Family Guy in this episode, but whatever. When Family Guy was cancelled and they did the film, which I think they ended up building into the series somehow, but they did the film Stu and Stewie's Big Adventure, remember?
Yeah.
Right? And in the film, Stewie runs into his future self.
Okay.
And his future self explains that time travel's used as like travel, like you would a holiday. You'd visit a time period instead. Yeah. And you'd vacation and stuff. So yeah, maybe it would kind of be used like the benefit is there.
I feel like if the technology was there, that's where it would naturally go. Because obviously everyone would be tempted by curiosity and stuff. But imagine schools getting time travel technology. All right, history today, kids. We're all just going to go and jump back to, obviously they'll be in the bubble, so they'll all be safe. Let's go and we're doing the war. There you go. Kids come back. Looking,
see Timmy.
Yeah, everyone is just fucked because they've gone back and lived all their experiences. But that's where I think we're talking about like, go like all these in the past or massively into the future. I think if that technology became readily available, it would just revolutionize transport.
Interesting.
Because like obviously the
I feel like you're gonna turn into a shadow for a second. Like, if time travel truly existed, I could really get my work done.
Think of my productivity.
I could fit a whole week into a day.
Yeah. Coming up with interview questions for guests, you know what I mean? Just let's go to just. I can't be asked doing that. So travel into the point of where I've done it.
Steal from future Karl.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Copying off future Karl's homework.
Oh, how would that work though? So say you travelled to the future, you asked future you for the questions that you asked in an interview that's already happened, and you take them to the past, and they're the questions that you ask in an interview that's already happened. So whoever wrote them?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
They kind of always existed.
Well, maybe I did write them. So maybe I do write them, but I'm putting it off. I'm like, do you know what? I'll just fast forward to before the interview, but after I've written the questions.
But then that's the same, because if you're the one who steals the questions, then you never write the questions. So it's always an infinite loop. You always go to the future and steal the questions from yourself who wrote them, but then you consequently become the person who stole the questions and never wrote them. So it's an infinite loop. The questions were never written, but they were always there.
Mind blown.
What the fuck have you done? You broke time.
I've broken time. I knew it'd happen. I knew it'd be me as well. Okay.
Mate,
yeah.
you cabbage made with that one.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is where you go, like you can't affect the past, but you can affect your future. So if you go into the future and taking stuff from yourself, you fulfilled your own past.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Make you think. But yeah, I feel like I'd end up getting quite lazy with it, to be fair. Johnny for the shop.
But things like that, where you go like, okay, so you're there, like you sat there and you're like, I'm hungry. Like, what's pizza yesterday? So you go back into. No, you can't go back in time.
No,
I think because of their own self-imposed rules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, would it get that ridiculous as well as like, oh, I'm so hungry? Fall off there.
Skip. So you were now going into like a scenario like Click, where you can skip forward through the mundane.
It's
like, I can't be asked brushing my teeth.
Well, I mean, okay,
to the other side of brushing.
Probably not, can we? I was going to say, because we can bend time in such a way, does that mean we can pause time? Are we going to get a Click or like a Bernard's watch scenario here?
I mean, I suppose, because we're saying time travel, but I suppose we're talking manipulating time, so we can delve into that if you want. What are you pausing time for?
No.
Why'd you fucking ask?
I remember some fun episodes.
Stay in this moment.
I remember some fun episodes on like Bernard's watching that, where you like,
watch.
Like I'd become like the best Premier League footballer ever, because I'd be like, you know what I mean, or even like a goalkeeper or something, and like people are taking a shot, and I'd just be like, saved it again. You know what I mean? Like you could do mad stuff like that. But yeah.
But then that'd become noticeable, wouldn't it? Like he moves like he's leaping through time.
Just dead impressive. Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Maybe that's broaching the topic too far.
Okay. But
final moments in terms of
no, we've got a couple of bits to cover here. So, when you're talking about going into the future, for instance,
yes.
And again, now you've got me this on the self-fulfilling prophecy thing.
Okay.
Would you have ever gone to the future to go, like I'm going to invent something that's already made in the future? So you go to the future, you go, that's a cool device, but I'm going to be the one who invents it. So you go back in the past to give them the idea of the device, but then ultimately become the person who did invent it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Do you mean like
would you have ever used it for that concept? Because one of the thoughts that crossed my mind, and she was like, "Go to the future. I'll see what's like." I think I mentioned it before you went in. I see like what's popular to like invest in or something like that. But then, your past can affect the future. So you're going back to the past and then going, I'll invest in that, and then consequently you make it popular, or you go back to the past and go, well, I'll tell you what, I'll get on the ground of inventing that, but consequently you are the one who, you know what I mean? So like,
what would
it
be? It
could be a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, but would you ever like we're talking about looking at the way technology's moved, would you ever go, that's a fucking cool idea, I might mention that one.
So what would be your purpose for doing that, would be my question.
It's be a money grabbing test.
Then you could do that with the lottery.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So like, if you were going to do that, if you were going to do that, it'd be so like they name something after.
So let's say it'd be
like a like the vanity piece we were talking about. Me going to my funeral. Like, this isn't going to be an iPhone anymore. It's going to be an ant phone.
Would you do it to not justify yourself, but to, I suppose, satisfy your curiosity about, like, say the books you've written, or our show? I think we mentioned it briefly before. Or you write a script and you go, I wonder how that'd do. So you leap forward in time to see if it was successful.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'd do it, but I probably wouldn't go to the future and see something and then come back with it and go, "Oh, here's my idea." Do you know what I mean?
But I just like, say you were, how do I put it? Say you were writing a script, right? I'm just trying to think of mad consequences. Say you were writing a script and you're like, this film, I think this could be a good film, right? So you leap forward in time to see if it was successful, right? And you go, oh yeah, it made it, right? And you come back, but then you get a bit more lazy with the script. Do you know what I mean? And you go, well, have you affected that by seeing that?
Maybe.
Do you know what
I mean, to be fair, I'd probably leap forward into the future and go, nope, still sat on my desk and never did anything with it. No one looked at it.
No, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it would never happen for me.
But like, it'd be a nice, because it wouldn't be for anything other than your own satisfaction, but it'd be a nice curiosity. You go, you leap forward in time and see how popular your two books were overall. Maybe see how many more books you wrote, but we see how popular those books ended up. I know you never did it for that satisfaction, but I had curiosity.
Yeah, maybe. I could look at it for stuff like that, but I don't think I'd ever go,
Kind of Karl's legacy. Yeah.
someone's invented this, I'm going to take that idea, bring it back, and then take credit for it kind of thing.
It's
Because
just me who's an asshole.
think, well, no, I just think I'd do it for the reasons. That's why I asked what the purpose would be. Because if it was to make money, I'd do that with the lottery scheme. Because I'd want the anonymity that comes with it. I wouldn't want everyone to go, there's the guy who invented fucking Pornhub. You know what I mean? Like,
Hell of an investment, Karl.
you know what I mean? I don't want the notoriety with it. I just want, obviously, the financial gain to set your family up.
Yeah, I get that.
Disappear. Don't want everyone going.
And then he disappeared.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen this on CarlTube?
CarlTube. Why is this all porn? Yeah. 8 points.
Basically, in the future. That's big.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I probably wouldn't go in and do stuff like that. But
Okay. Favorite time travel film?
Oof, okay.
While we're on the topic of time travel.
Terminator 2.
Okay. Least favorite?
Probably one of the other shit Terminators. What other films have a lot of time travel in them? I can't. Is there really that many bad time travel movies?
Does Groundhog Day count?
I fucking like Groundhog Day.
No, I'm not saying for bad, but I mean like that concept.
Sort of, yeah.
Because I would class that as a great time travel film. But
Yeah.
is it time travel? He's reliving the same day.
Even like the chick flick ones, like that About Time or whatever. I like that.
About time or whatever.
Yeah. I feel that.
Karl talks films. You know that one about time or whatever. You know, she's all that and that. About Time is actually a really good film.
But
the concept is weird, isn't it? Like go into a closet and clench your fists and think about it.
that Yesterday, have you seen that? Where he goes back and basically starts singing the Beatles songs.
Yeah, but no, doesn't he? He doesn't. That isn't really time travel, though, isn't it? He doesn't go back, does he?
Well, yeah,
he gets hit by lightning,
Oh,
and
well,
for some reason the Beatles don't exist.
yeah.
So
I
then he
suppose.
starts writing their songs because he's the only one who can remember them.
Yeah, fair play.
But it still affects time
Yeah,
because at
it's a
some point
timeline
it somehow erased the Beatles from time. So
Yeah.
it's but he doesn't travel through time.
Yeah, fair play.
Time travels through him.
Yeah, but no, I was just thinking then when I was like About Time or some shit or whatever, I was like, you could affect the title of like, you could go back to the Beatles and be like, why don't you call this Hey Dude? You're like in that film, and they're like, yeah. And you end up ruining the song.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything that if it disappeared from time, you would feel compelled to bring it back? I know you don't want the notoriety, for instance, but let's say like that concept of the Beatles. If something disappeared from time and you can remember it vividly, like a really good film or piece of music or anything really, or even a piece of art, let's say, and you're like, that needs to exist in the world, but I'm the only one who can remember it, so I'm going to be the one who has to bring it to the world now.
So is this stuff that actually has disappeared or stuff that
something
did disappear?
Well, you're the only one who remembers. So you're like stupidly, as an example, I'll use art. You go, I know the Mona Lisa existed.
Yeah.
I fucking know it did, right?
Mm.
So you try and recreate that because it was a big part of, you know, it's in the Louvre. It was a big part of our history.
Just look shit.
Stick woman. So you go, okay, so the art's probably a bad example. But let's say you know of like, let's say, what's one of your favorite songs? That one, yeah. You know, like, well, let's say like Lewis Capaldi, right? Similar concept to Yesterday. Lewis Capaldi, for some reason, you wake up tomorrow, Lewis Capaldi never got famous. None of his songs existed. You love his songs at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be like, I'm gonna have to be the one who fucking writes these songs? Or would you just go, well, let's just let it go. It's a shame that. Bear in mind, you can never listen to them anymore either.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. It's hard though, because just because you know of something doesn't mean you have the talent to be able to recreate it. That's where it gets tricky.
Do you need the talent? Because you know Lewis. I'm not saying Lewis has gone from history, the music. So you could go, look, I wrote these songs. I know you're a boss singer.
Oh,
I
okay.
fucking know it in my bones.
Yeah.
And you make him do it.
I mean, for someone like Capaldi, you'd be there going, fucking hell, he deserves it, you know. Yeah, I'll have to go and give him these songs. But yeah, there's probably some people who are just absolute cunts, and despite the success, I'd be like, ha, sucks to be you. I could change your life, but I'm not gonna. But yeah, for Capaldi, I probably would. Yeah.
For Capaldi.
For Capaldi, he's a bit of shit.
Okay. So what are we on time-wise, Karl?
We've hit the hour mark, but I suppose...
Okay. Well, no, I'm not like, oh, let's hit a particular time, but I was going to visit your talk of religion, but I feel like that might be worth being its own thing.
Maybe. It depends how in depth you're going to go with it. I was just going to say, because I feel like
the concept of afterlife I wanted to talk about in general, and that could let us delve a lot further. So I'm thinking maybe that becomes its own thing. Maybe we do that next week.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you about. But it isn't time travel related, and it's just something I'm mindful of.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it sounds like it'd be its own thing. I've got a lot of thoughts on the
Join us next week when we talk about the afterlife.
But yeah, no, like as a final thought, obviously jumping back through, so like without limitations and all that, like if you could go back in time, if you could go forward, whatever, just time travel as a thing, if it existed, is there anything you've not said or somewhere you've not been or something you've not done that?
I don't think so. I think
like take all the limitations off.
I think there's nothing I could think of particularly that I've missed out. What I would say is if I had to make a choice between going forward or back, I would go back.
Okay.
Like I don't think I'd need to see the future. I think the future could be quite anxiety inducing when you know what's coming. I think revisiting elements of the past would be quite fascinating in general. So I'd probably, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go past.
I think
I'm like you say in a traveling sense of going, it'd be nice to go see that.
So if you could go to the past and you were in a bubble, is there any? I'm not asking you to reveal these, by the way, but is there anything that ever sticks out where you would have done it differently, or you would have made a different choice if you could?
Honestly, there's probably things where I'm like, because it's difficult because you'd have to then see the consequence of that change.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas I'd like to be able to answer the question. Like, you know, when you go like career wise, and you go, what would have happened if I'd have done that?
Yeah.
You know, what would have happened if I'd have like not changed jobs? Yeah. What would happen if I took that job that I didn't take and stuff like that? But it'd be nice to answer those curiosities. But if I could only answer those curiosities by making that difference and then seeing what the consequence is and then going back and trying to fix it, that'd just get messy. I think I'd have to just keep reminding myself, don't change shit. Because I don't think I think you're meant to walk the path you walk. Do you know what I mean? I think trying to change something that happened is not a good way to go.
Okay.
I don't think I'd ever do that.
That's interesting.
As much as there's certain things you go, oh, that was embarrassing, I wish that never happened to me. Yeah. I probably wouldn't revisit it. I'd just avoid it completely, because if I revisit it and felt compelled to change it, I might, and then you don't know what knock-on effect that could have.
Yeah.
So I
find it fascinating then when you're meant to walk the path you walk, except if you can time travel into the future, then you win the fucking lottery.
Yeah, because I was always going to do that.
Oh, right, okay.
Because I'm affecting the future. This is the point. If I try and change the past, then it rewrites everything I've already been through.
Yeah.
Whereas if I go to the future and find out something and change my future, I have the power to change my future now. So
that's the soundbite I wanted right there. That's the soundbite.
Okay,
that was fucking boom.
But I don't see the consequence in going to the future and find, because again, it's that self-fulfilling thing of like, if I went to the future to get the lottery numbers to win the lottery, I was always going to go to the future to get the lottery numbers to win the lottery.
Yeah.
So I'm not changing my future. That was my future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sounds like an excuse for my actions. If I was going to go to the future and kill a guy, I was always going to, like, that's not what I'm saying. But, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel less consequence about getting information from the future and using it than I would be trying to change my past, because I've already walked that path.
But in the argument of, like, would you find out about the iPhone or whatever and then go and be the one that invents it? Is that where that gets muddy?
Yeah, but I wanted to throw the idea out there. I probably wouldn't try and, like, steal concepts or stuff like that. No, I just thought it'd be fascinating, because you could get on the ground floor of a lot of stuff if you were so minded. But I probably wouldn't go down that line. Yeah, because I'd feel a bit like a fraud. Like, satisfaction wise, I'd feel like a fraud, because I'd be like, well, I only stole that concept because I saw it. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's what would be terrifying if you had that. That's what would be terrifying about time travel. Like, I like the idea you're in your safe bubble and you get to be an observer. If you went back and the butterfly effect thing was real, and one tiny change you made could, you know what I mean? You may have never ended up having your kids. You may, we may never have met, done this show. You know what I mean? Like, just if you change one tiny thing.
That's the thing. And even, like, it depends where you decide to visit, but, like, imagine, like, you accident, because we haven't got the bubble. That's why you need the bubble, right? You go back to the past and you go, like, oh, I'll have a little wander around, and you go, oh shit, this is the plague. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you just fucked yourself up. Like, even if you go back to the future now, you go back to your present day, you still got a disease. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, maybe you don't fuck with shit.
Yeah.
So maybe stay in your bubble. That's all I'm saying.
You wouldn't be able to go forward, would you? If you go back, you catch the plague. If you then try and move forward, you've died. because of the plague.
Yeah.
So you can't go back.
So you fucked.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure that like, sure if you travel to the future to maybe get a cure, but I don't know how much time you got or whatever.
Yeah.
But my point being, I feel like without the bubble, you have the consequence of like potentially causing your own demise accidentally in the past, even if you're like, no roads, eh? And then bam, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe just stay in the bubble.
Yeah.
It's safer in the bubble.
Okay, so final question before we knock it on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Is it ever going to be possible?
No.
Never?
No. I think, okay, you
Sorry to open a fresh can of worms.
so people look at time travel in various different ways, and I love theory. I don't know, again, I'm no expert, but I love when you like in the sort of layman interpretation of time, how people look at different concepts, and they talk about like time being sort of linear. You can't go forward, you can't go back. And then people have like put theories out there of going, well, consider time like a river, and you're on a boat on that river, you're traveling down the river. If you could get off the boat and walk the shore, do you know what I mean, back to a different point, then why is that not a thing? And obviously you can't just go, well, that theory is nice, let's make that happen. But like it I suppose it depends on your concept of time. But it was Brian Cox has got a, is it Brian Cox? Brian Cox and Jeff Forshaw wrote a book called Why Does E equals MC Squared and Why Should We Care? Which I've forgotten most of it, and I go back and listen to it every once in a while to try and get an understanding, because they are fantastic scientists, you know, and they've explained it in a really accessible way. But that book, I would highly recommend the audiobook as well. Probably a difficult read, but fantastic to listen to, right? And they talk about the concept of time travel. They get you to the point of understanding that E equals MC squared, and obviously why you should care about it. But they talk about time travel, and they talk about like the concept of time is kind of set. Like, and then the basic bit of, and I think this is at the very beginning of the book, but in the basic bit of got a bit of going, this is why time travel wouldn't be possible, is because it's about cause and effect. So he basically says like you have things that have to happen in the right order. Like you get up in the morning, you have your breakfast. You can't have your breakfast until you're up in the morning, kind of thing. So time has to follow in the right way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So in a way that always makes me go, well, surely you can't fuck with time. You know what I mean? And you never know what science discovers. It's ever changing, you know. But the way I look at it now, I'm like, the concept where you go, can you go back and look at the past? I think maybe possible. I don't know if that's necessarily time travel, but if you can map, it's like anything, isn't it? If you say, and this is where this might be a thing that you could do, which sounds nuts, but like anything, isn't it? You start mapping information, you start recording, then you can go back to the beginning of the recording, you go back to the end of the recording, can't you? So if that were possible, someone could sort of just map the map the world. Like, so at a point that machine goes on, bang, right? You can visit to the point that machine went on.
Yeah,
you can't change anything, but you can revisit those memories, those events, whatever. You can go back to the past, then, really speaking. But you're not going back to the past, you're just revisiting something that's been mapped out and stored. Yeah. If you know what I mean.
I suppose
that sounds like a concept to me.
That's where like VR, what is the where I see VR going, to be fair, with AI and stuff, is being able to recreate these moments in time and worlds and being able to virtually visit them. Yeah. As opposed to physically be there and affect them.
And I think that's the thing of physically traveling to the past and being there. I don't think will ever be a thing. But I think we'll maybe get to a point technology-wise where you can revisit in some very good detail those particular events.
Fascinating. Fun and educational.
Indeed.
As always. On so
as always.
But as always, love that. That was very insightful. Indeed. It's also made me just question everything, as it always does.
Yeah. I'm also now wondering if you ever win the lottery, whether you did it for time travel.
But I was always meant to. And that's what matters. But yeah, let us know what you thought of this episode. What would you do if you could time travel? Where would you go? Would you go to the past? Would you go to the future? What would you see? What would you do? Yeah. And then hope you don't have nightmares.
And I don't want any snarky comments when I'll go to the future, so I don't have to listen to the rest of this. Right? None of that shit.
Yes, I want to see that shit. I want to get 1 hour and 30 minutes of my life back. But yeah, no, do let us know, because obviously it's genuinely fascinating. I think that's why obviously we do this show, or we've started doing this show, just to obviously move away from permanently talking about wrestling and just
Yeah, we'll
talk
talk
about
about
everything else in the
whatever the
world.
fuck we want,
So, but yeah, what we will start doing soon, we've obviously got a couple of topics in mind of what we're going to be talking about each week. But eventually, when we get some level of a following, maybe we'll open up the floor and you know,
And
see.
fall in the pit.
So what if we asked you what we were going to talk about? And I know it's like the third episode now. I can't remember how we closed out the show. Didn't we find a cool way last week?
I can't remember. Sorry.
Hmm.
So what have you? I don't know.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So until next time, when we ask.
Well, yeah. That is a bummer. So what have you could time travel? Tell us. Let us know. All good.
Indeed.